Reconciliation perceived as President Tinubu meets with Wike and Fubara and Rivers lawmakers. Secret meeting sparks hope of peace deal between Fubara and Amaewhule. Governor Sule rejects allegations of Nasarawa State being a hideout for criminals. 6 killed as IED explodes in Imo Market. Senate fumes as NNPCL shuts 210 trillion naira audit probe. On the international scene, South Korea arrests Americans trying to send Bibles to North Korea. And in sports, Real Madrid beat Salzburg to reach last 16. Those are the headlines. Details coming up shortly. President Bola Tinubu on Thursday met with Governor Siminalayi Fubara, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly Martins Amaewhule, and members of the Assembly. At the meeting, the President reconciled the parties whose dispute led to the declaration of a state of emergency in the state on March 18. The meeting also marks the second time Governor Fubara will be seen meeting with the President who suspended him, his deputy Ngozi Odu, and the Rivers Assembly while declaring emergency rule in the state. President Tinubu attributed his action to the inability of the governor and the State Assembly to find ways to work together and the security situation in the state, among other things. Wike and Fubara speak to journalists after the meeting.
The glory that today is the 26th of June 2025, that peace has finally returned to the state. We all agreed to work together with the governor, and the governor also agreed to work together with all of us who are members of the same political family. Yes, just like humans, you have a disagreement, and then you also have a time to also settle your disagreement, and that has been finally concluded today, and we have come to report to Mr. President that is what we have agreed. So for me, everything is over, and enjoy everybody who believe to work with us to also work together with everybody. That there's no more acrimony, there's nothing to say we are disagreeing. We have all agreed on everything. So we thank God. For me, it's a day we have to thank Almighty God.
For me, it's very important that this day has come to be. What we need for the progress of Rivers State is peace. And by the special grace of God this night, with the help of Mr. President and the agreement of the leaders of the state, our leader, peace has returned in Rivers State. We'll do everything within our power to make sure that we sustain it this time around. Thank you.
Photos from Thursday's meeting, however, paint a picture of a breakthrough in efforts to resolve the prolonged political crisis in Rivers State, while with one photo showing the president with the governor and minister all smiling. Though the presidency and the parties that met with the president on Thursday night did not make any comment on the meeting, there are indications that the state of emergency imposed on all rich Rivers State might be edging toward the cusp of termination. Meanwhile, in what could signal a turning point in Rivers State long-running political crisis, there are strong indications that suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara may be urging towards reconciliation with his fiercest political rivals in the State Assembly. Governor Fubara held a closed-door meeting with some members of the State House of Assembly led by suspended Speaker Martin Amaewhule. While details of the discussions remain tightly guarded, the meeting itself marks a significant moment in the power struggle that has left the state's political landscape fractured and volatile. Record that Amaewhule and his faction had twice attempted to impeach the governor at the height of a bitter face-off believed to have been triggered by Fubara's fallout with his predecessor, Nyesom Wike. The feud sent shockwaves through the state, leading to the emergence of rival factions in the assembly. One of them was led by Ellison Ehie, Fubara's ally, who rose to become chief of staff, followed later by Boni lawmaker Victor Okojumbo. At the height of the conflict, the State Assembly complex was burnt and later demolished, symbolic of the collapse of legislative order in the oil-rich state. The legal fireworks that followed were intense. Amaewhule ultimately secured a landmark security Supreme Court victory, affirming his status as Speaker, while also getting the governor's local council elections nullified. In response, the Assembly revived impeachment proceedings until President Bola Tinubu stepped in, declaring a state of emergency and suspending all elected officials in the state. Whether this is a temporary pause or the beginning of a full-scale political reset remains to be seen. Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State has rejected the allegation that alleged herdsmen who attack Benue State always come in and escape from the state. Nasarawa border Benue, and it has been suggested in some quarters that the criminals who carried out the recent attack in Yellowwater community in Benue, which claimed several lives, came in and left from the neighboring Nasarawa. However, Governor Sule, in a television interview, refuted the claim that Nasarawa harbors criminals, saying that the state has less activities related to cattle rearing. He acknowledged that the accusation of Nasarawa being a gateway for Benue attackers has been on for a while, even before he assumed office as governor. Governor Sule said that his government is doing a lot to secure the state borders, including acquiring security vehicles for border patrol. Recently, scores of residents in the Yellowwater area in Benue were killed and over 3,000 persons are displaced during an overnight attack by suspected herdsmen. Though the government put the number of slain persons as 59, civil rights groups claimed that about 200 deaths were recorded. On Tuesday, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, announced the arrest of 26 persons suspected to be masterminds of the killings. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the IGP said the police were on the heels of other suspects who participated in the Yellowwater killings. 6 persons have been killed by an explosion caused by an improvised explosive device IED planted at AK Obese Market, Awa Idemili, also local government area of Imo State. The incident generated confusion and anxiety in Obese and its adjoining communities as news of the bomb planted in the market by unknown persons spread like wildfire. It was also gathered that the explosion occurred immediately. A middle-aged woman identified as Ngozi Ume unknowingly stepped on the IED. Multiple sources in the village said 6 persons died in the explosion, while many others were injured. Reacting, however, to the incident, Imo Police Command's image maker Henry Okoye said investigation into the market explosion has commenced. He also said the landmine is suspected to have been planted by IPOB and ESN terrorists. Okoye said the Commissioner of Police, Imo State Command Aboki Danjuma, swiftly deployed operatives of the command's explosive ordnance disposal EOD unit, tactical teams, and personnel from Osu and Olu divisions to cordon off the area, evacuate victims, and sweep the market vicinity for any other planted IEDs. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has failed to appear before the Senate Committee on Public Accounts, probing alleged financial discrepancies amounting to over 210 trillion naira in its audited report from 2017 to 2023. Despite being summoned, no officials or external auditors from NNPCL showed up. However, representatives from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, and the Department of State Services were present. In response to NNPCL's absence, the committee issued a 10-day ultimatum demanding the company's top executives appear before the panel by July 10 or face constitutional sanctions. A letter from NNPCL Chief Financial Officer Dakwa Shegun, dated June 25, was read at this session. It cited an ongoing management retreat and requested a 2-month extension to prepare necessary documents and responses, but the lawmakers rejected the request. The committee chairman Aliu Wadada said NNPCL was not expected to submit documents, but rather provide verbal responses to 11 key questions previously sent. For an institution like NNPCL to ask for 2 months to respond to questions from its own audited reports and records is unacceptable. Other lawmakers echoed similar frustrations. You are currently listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. We'll take a short break. When we return, we head into the news analysis segment with Tunde Kolawole, a legal practitioner and current affairs analyst. You're welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We have Tunde Kolawole, a legal practitioner and a current affairs analyst, joining us on the news for the afternoon. Barrister Kolawole, thank you for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
Now let's go straight to the first topic of discussion, which is the reconciliation meeting, as it were, between President Tinubu and Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister, and similarly Fubara, the River State governor, suspended River State governor, of course, River State House of Assembly. I'm sure you read the report. What do you make of that meeting?
Well, I would like to say that the meeting between the different factions in River State is a welcome development all over the world and in all society. When two people fight, when countries fight, when there are fighting within the family, at the end of the day, all of them will have to sit down to resolve whatever differences it is between them. Because war, strife, and acrimony have never solved any problem. So to that extent, it's a local development. But we must be very, very careful. Careful in the sense that when politicians who is meeting at night, before morning, some other meetings would have been held, and then they need to talk a different thing, speaking from both sides of their mouth. For the average Nigerian politician, 1 + 1 is never 2. So, in their life, they say one thing, at life, the scenario, the whole issues, processes, and agreement would have definitely changed, simply because the stake is always very, very high with the average Nigerian politician.
So, do you think this will lead to, just like you've alluded to, because of the trust issues, in politicians, do you think this will finally solve the political crisis in River State and then end the suspension by the president?
Well, let me quickly say that whether there's a meeting between the president and then the governor or whoever, that really has nothing to do with ending the suspension of governance, of civil governance in the River State. The Constitution is very clear as regards when and how you can suspend the city government in any state and even in the whole country as a whole. And then there's also a process provided for by the law as to how you can bring back whatever governance or whatever government you have been suspended. So whatever meeting the rules has nothing to do with whether Fubara should come back or not. Fortunately, after 6 months, which is on come, and the semblance of peace in River State, the president is is bound to bring that government. As regard whether there's going to be peace, yes, I have my reservations, and I will I will go into history, or I will use history as my antecedent. Recollect, I think it was during the Second or Third Republic, when there were issues between the godfather, that is Dr. Bukola Saraki, and then Commodore Lawal, who we made governor in the Kwara State, and there were issues between them. All matters of people, traditional rulers, the churches, the mosque, and all that, intervened and tried at different times to really settle the two people and all that. They come out openly, smile before the camera and say, look, all differences between them have been resolved. But at the end of the day, it was never resolved. As soon as the elections were coming nearer, the two people talking, and then went into different camps, and then they fought to a bitter end as they vote. At the end of the day, Governor Lawal was caught in Kwara State, and then the new person that Dr. Bukola Saraki, that Dr. Nishola Saraki brought in as governor, won the election. In fact, it could be said that that defeat by Governor Lawal, which falls him into exile, essentially only appreciated the man's case, because shortly after he lost the elections and all that, he said he was there on holiday in South Africa, and then he died in South Africa shortly after that election. Also remember what happened in Anambra State between the Uba brothers and then former governor, I can't really remember his name. It was a fight to finish, which led to the nullification, which led to, which in a way participated or contributed to the nullification of that election by the court at the different cities and what have you. Also recollect that even here in Lagos, when Mr. President was governor and all that, he used about 3 deputy governors. Before he dispensed to those deputy governors, all matters of people also tried to intervene to settle them and all that. But the president at that time, the governor at that time, talked to his gun and all that. Almost all the governors have had in Lagos State who he helped into power. He has always had one different system of weather.
Ambode is a typical example of that.
Exactly. They were hardly settled because it's all about ego. It's all about the money. It's all about power. It's all about holding on tight and to whatever political clan or whatever political together between the house and the state. Because if Fubara is allowed to return to power, or they are making the reconciled and what happens, what is going to be the state of Minister Wike come 2027 election? So I have my reservations, taking antecedents of history and also looking at the caliber of the stubbornness of the people that are involved in this matter. Please connect that former Governor Fayose has always preached that nobody should, people should take care or should try not to send the governor, Minister Wike, and when we send them, usually try to finish. So the Wike that has not disappeared, has not denied what the former governor Fayose said. In fact, most of the judges that mentioned have always said that to confirm that when we engage in the fight of this nature, it's always a fight to finish. I doubt it whether anybody is in a position to stop them. Also remember that even the president has not been too late in this matter. He has always said that whatever happens between the PDP and what have you, in the way, so always going to the two parts and what have you. And that nobody will throw away a child that is born into silence. He sees the crisis, so to say, and I'm sorry to say, something that he could profit from as a leader of the APC, and then the leader of the government in the country today.
So, this meeting, obviously, as expected, has elicited reactions. They have two factions of people now reacting differently to it. On one side, you have people say this meeting is commendable, that Governor Fubara should just submit to Wike, if not for anything, at least for the peace of River State, because the war going on with two of them is obviously truncating the growth, political growth in River State, and they're of the opinion that Fubara should just submit to Wike and just end the feud once and for all. And then you have the other faction that says godfatherism in Nigeria need to be stopped one way or the other, and then Fubara should stick to his guns. Whatever want to happen will happen. What side of the divide do you take sides with?
Well, that's a very beautiful question, also very complicated.
True.
Also very complicated, yeah. But let me say this, that there is no, I don't think anybody can call it or resolve this kind of that they say that it has not. If it was going to be resolved, it would have been the traditional rulers, the church leaders, and then the different other statements that we have in River State.
But even though this class have their own bias and their divide on either for Wike or for Fubara.
It is natural to take sides. But when people are faithful, when people know their country and know their state, they will think about the interest of the state first before they are the interest. Like you have said now, government and then development in River State has been arrested. And there is the consequences for all for things in River State can be very clear and moral. Not the reason why I said this matter cannot be resolved. I mean, according to the state, we can be resolved at it. No, if it is resolved, what we're going to be having in River State is two of the great and nothing more than that. And then it will be very difficult for Governor Fubara to be able to decide the responsibility of his office, because he has to be taking dictates from Minister Wike. Whatever he wants to do, whatever he wants to do, whatever development program he wants to do, and all that, he will never be a job for. He will be taking dictates from Abuja.
He is going to be a puppet governor.
Exactly. I'm not too sure that the man has that kind of a temperament and where I think. And then even more importantly, if he agrees to reconciliation now, at the end of the day, he's really going to support him again to take out all 2027 elections. And that's it. Wike is never likely going to Fubara to become as governor in the River State. Rather than allowing to stop, he will keep up with stronger political party and have a very good chance to defeat Fubara. Even if Fubara gets the ticket of the PDP in the River State, he will rather go with another political party, make sure he crosses Fubara once and for all. So in a way, sooner than later, Governor Fubara's political future will be in the geography. And again, nobody will regain our respect for him. He will be seen as a man who is governed by emotions and not a strongly person. If he was going to make peace, if he was going to play a role, if he was wanted to be a prophet, he would not have engaged Mr. Wike in the fight. Less than 6 months after assuming leadership as governor in the River State. And then, like I said, since the result of this civil, there is nobody that has issues with either their deputy or with somebody to restore the power that they have effectively resolved and then reconcile and then become one again. It's difficult because the stakes are always very high.
So, of course, the House of Assembly too was divided. We had the Wike loyalists and the similar Fubara loyalists, the River State House of Assembly. And of course, if information is anything to go by, Governor Fubara held a closed-door meeting with some members of the State of Assembly, led by the suspended speaker, who was a supporter of Wike, that's Martin Amaewhule. This is also a good signal that it's not just the problem between him and Wike that will be resolved. The problem between him and the National Assembly too will be resolved.
Yes, the former speaker,
all political office holders were suspended, obviously, including the House of Assembly members.
Yeah, But the Supreme Court gave judgment in favor of, I don't know what you call them, the
Amaewhule.
Exactly. If a man has won at the Supreme Court and another, I doubt it whether he would want to surrender that victory on the platter of court to a recalcitrant competitor like Governor Fubara, because in a way, Amaewhule and Governor Fubara are rivals, they are competitors and what happens. He himself will have his own ambition. In fact, he likes to see himself now as a kind of alternative governor to Fubara. If at the end of the day, they were able to impeach Fubara, and then
they already attempted to impeach him twice before the suspension.
One way or the other, Minister Wike want to reward Fubara for standing by him. He also want to reward the House of Assembly where he got the majority against Fubara. I want to say that Fubara's policies, even though they kept it, even though there was in a way not well contemplated. He should have applied a lot of wisdom to some of it. Because like we say in Yoruba, when you don't have when you have not got the sword, and when you don't have the sword in your hand, if you should have it to start challenging, or start contesting, or start probing, who kill your father, who kill your mother and mother. He could have applied wisdom. The first thing we would have done before even engaging the case would have been to make sure that we have the other assembly again, which is not impossible. But we didn't do that. We totally went to
he started the war too soon. He started the war too soon.
Too soon. Even more neglected. If they done the pulling down of the Lagos, of the River State Parliament, the House of Assembly.
I mean, it was demolished.
Exactly, it was demolished. That monument was built by, with billions of naira.
Yeah.
And just because of leadership is challenged and what happened, they now go ahead and pull down the House of Assembly, demolished and when the topic, I remember all that, I doubt it, whether they will want to kind of to concern with Fubara. That's whether they want to concern. But that was the best sentence that the government of Fubara has tried to impose on the people in the River State Assembly, which they may not forget for a very, very long time. Even government Gideon, who built that structure, we were very bitter. It was concerned to that edifice, to that monument. The House of Assembly was the symbol of democracy, not the governor. The governor, the power, the state resides in the House of Assembly and River State. I'm not the governor, and executive court. The House in the movie are the bosses to the governor. They were the bosses, so we all such as people with such content.
In other words, the governor should have applied the statement that says, "Be a fool until you get what you want."
Exactly. Sometimes we have to stick to conquer. Sometimes we have to stick to conquer. You apply wisdom. Sometimes when you are engaging any politicians, because like I said, politicians all over the world are very careful. Look at the caricature, look at the game that Trump and then the Democrats and other politicians are playing the US. All over the world, they are all like that. Because it's all about their energy. It's all about power. It's all about wanting to undermine the other person.
Okay, let's go to the second point, which is Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State rejecting the allegation that alleged herdsmen who attack Benue State always come in and escape from the state. Of course, there are allegations that Nasarawa State is becoming a hideout for criminals, and several news reporters also indicated that when you see just how much and how many times Benue State have been attacked with these herdsmen coming through Nasarawa State, no wonder that state has been labeled states harboring criminal hideout. What do you think of that?
Well, let's give it to. I want to be sympathetic to Governor Sule in the way. Why do I say that? nobody will want to accept a tax which is not rectified. Nobody will want to admit that their territory or their own is criminal. So to that extent, it must really require to protect the image of Nasarawa state. But furthermore, he is also the chief security officer of Nasarawa state. In a way, he has been getting some security report, which indicates that the bandits, Amaewhule, are not really residing in Nasarawa state. So they are not using Nasarawa state as a route to really penetrate the industry and their journey. So when we look at the geography of Nasarawa state and more like a community and more like it, we would agree with you that Nasarawa is advantage to access Abuja and also some of these and also states in the middle of war. And people who do the kind of thing that these bandits are doing, they are never sedentary. They are always on the move. They move from one place to the other. Because if they are sedentary, it would have been too easy for
them to be discovered.
Exactly, they will be discovered and then addressed by the security agencies all over the country. So if I was Governor Sule, I would be too careful in jumping to the conclusion which he has jumped into. He has mentioned that was not at one time or I wasn't speaking with the governor in another day before him. And when he also came in governor, he was also not ready to be speaking with him because of what he thought was coming to the state through Nasarawa state. And when you remember, the governors in Benue State too, most have been getting their own security report and getting feedback from the different communities in those states because ordinarily, when you go to attack people, they will know the direction in which you come from. And so, when you look at it critically and all that, I would want to say that this case might be just the case of the port calling the case flag. Between two politicians and all that, it is very, very difficult to know the truth.
And of course, this further, buttress the points of state police too, because how can this governor be the chief security of their state and then they don't have a constitutional police to protect both the state and the borders in their state? If we have that, they're going to, I'm sure, two states sharing border communities like Nasarawa and Benue State, they're going to have like a joint security platform where they will stop this kind of border crossing and criminals using their state as a hideout or as a border crossing to cause crime.
Let me say that I am always for police and more police in this country. I have the last time I spoke with you had to chat with you with your listeners and your radio.
Which is exactly why I'm bringing it. Which is exactly why I'm bringing it up again.
Oh, great. So I support the establishment of police and war as well. But again, we must be very careful that the state police are also have its own limitation. I mentioned the issue of Amaewhule. We have Amaewhule in most of the southern states now, excluding Lagos. So it has not solved the problem of these murderers and bandits who are kidnapping and killing their people. That tells us that there is more, or we need to do more. We need to be able to arrest this banditry. It is never the number of people these days that we have as security agents and all that. I think more has to do with technology. In that case, these Amaewhule and all the other classes, police in the respective states and all that, have drones that can go on surveillance periodically in all the different forests and all that. That would just be a good way to access or get information. As regards to unauthorized movement in the respective forests and then the bandits who are hibernating in this forest. We must also remember that police are not there to patrol the border. They are for civil infraction and not to kind of start patrolling the border. It is the forest guard that Mr. President has proposed as going to be established in all the federation that might be very useful in tackling movement of bandits from one state to the other. If you have foreign cars in there who are well equipped,
but it's not all borders that have forests.
yes, to the best of my knowledge, the bandits who are engaged in these things and all that, they actually use the normal routes and you and I use when you are transiting from one community to the other. Most times they come through, they go to attack places where is it expected, where there is a cover for them, rocky areas, forest areas, rivers, and what have you. I know the President has also proposed that we're going to be establishing marine police. Those ones could also be doing in case the bandits want to come through river and feed the nations and what have you. But by and large, like I said, police are not equipped or are not meant to start patrolling borders between the states. Yes, entry to states are not that they have roadblocks on the way in there and what have you. And just like you said, too, some of these bandits will camouflage. They can even pretend they are hunters. They are going from one place to the other to go and hunt. They will also say that they are kind of laborers. People do daily labors and then go to construction sites and all that, and come through the normal routes, normal roads and all that. So if they do that and all that, if there are police checkpoints, the entry to the respective state and all that, they might be able to arrest, stop, or kind of reduce or minimize the situation of the different states and all that. When the bandits and the Malaysians want to use the normal route, they want to use the road or the more accessible road that links one state to the other. So we need a cocktail of programs to be able to tackle these bandits. But more importantly, the more good opinion, it is the politicians that have created this problem, and they are the ones that must solve the problem. Before the politicians came, we had little or no, at least banditry. It's not on this level. They have always been kidnapping from time immemorial. People have always been used for rituals, money-making rituals, and life-prolonging rituals and what happens. But it's all this rampant. And then when it does happen, the military are always there to treat decisively with something. Also remember that General Sani Abacha once said that if civil strife, if the kind of bandits that we see all over Nigeria today persist for more than 24 hours or 2 days or 1 week at a time, that we should think that we should look at the political officers in those societies.
That they are truly involved.
We are truly involved. And the experiences have shown from what we saw in Borno State and some other states and all that. They cultivated the activities of the bandits like Boko Haram, some other members. You also remember former governor of Kaduna State, in fact, almost said on television that he has to pay for Fulani people to stop attacking certain communities and all that. You pay criminals to stop community crime. In the way they are buying, the way you pay them, you give them money to acquire more weapons, to carry out more surveillance.
Definitely enabling them.
Exactly. And also look at what is happening in Kaduna today. When the revival was there, Southern Kaduna was falling. There was killing on a daily basis and all that. But we have a government standing in there who would apply to have applied wisdom and done what is right. And we have relative peace now in Kaduna State. So that shows you that when we are better, we will not be too wrong if we start pointing accusing fingers at the politicians all over the country.
Okay, sir. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Barrister Kolawole. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. You have a great day.
Thank you too. That was Tunde Kolawole, a legal practitioner and current affairs analyst. And now to our international news. South Korean police on Friday arrested 6 U.S. nationals attempting to send plastic bottles packed with rice and Bibles to North Korea, the head of the investigation team said. Local police said the Sikhs were trying to send thousands of plastic bottles filled with rice, $1 bills and Bibles into the Sea of Gangwon Island at 1:03 a.m. on Friday when they were caught. The Americans could not speak Korean, so interpreter was provided for them, and we had since started the questioning according to investigation team. Located northwest of Seoul, Gangwon Island is one of the closest South Korean territories to North Korea, with some parts of the surrounding sea lying just 10 kilometers, that's 6 miles from the maritime border between the two countries. The island has long been a popular site for non-profit organizations and anti-North Korea groups to launch plastic bottles filled with rice, as well as USB sticks containing K-pop and South Korean dramas. The area was designated a danger zone last November, along with other border regions where activists launched balloons carrying leaflets. At the time, the government said such activities could be perceived by the North as provocative. Still on the international scene, President Donald Trump says the United States and China have signed a trade agreement amid efforts to end a trade war between the two world's biggest economies. Quote, "We just signed with China the other day," end of quote, Trump said during an event at the White House late on Thursday without providing further details. A White House official said the administration and China agreed to an additional understanding for a framework to implement the Geneva Agreement, referring to talks with Swiss capital last month where the two countries agreed to a trade truce. The deal follows the Geneva Agreement that led both China and the US to postpone massive tariff hikes for 90 days as they sought to reach a broader trade deal. Later talks in London set a framework for negotiations, and the deal mentioned by Trump appeared to finalize that agreement. China confirmed details of the agreement on Friday, saying it would approve export applications of controlled items in accordance with the law, but did not mention rare earths. And now to sports news. A new look, Real Madrid beat RB Salzburg 3-0 to finish top of Group H and advance to the last 16 of the FIFA Club World Cup. Manager Xabi Alonso deployed a 5-man defense for the first time since replacing Carlo Ancelotti on the dugout. Wingbacks Trent Alexander-Arnold and Fran Garcia were given license to get forward, with Aurelien Tchouameni dropping in between central defenders Antonio Rudiger and Dean Oysson. Previous managers Ancelotti and Zinedine Zidane preferred a 4-3-3 structure, but Alonso's approach is reminiscent of Vincent de Bolske's Champions League winning side of 2000. Real looked at ease in the new formation and claimed a comfortable win at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. Vinicius Jr. opened the scoring with a drilled finish into the bottom corner after gliding away from two defenders. The Brazil winger's cute back heel pass set Federico Valverde on his way to double their lead on the stroke of halftime. Academy graduate Gonzalo Garcia wrapped up the win with a chipped effort. Real Madrid head to Florida to face Group G runners-up Juventus in the last 16 on 1 July. And just before we go, here again are the top stories. Reconciliation perceived as President Tinubu meets with Wike, Fubara and Rivers lawmakers. A secret meeting sparks hopes of peace deal between Fubara and Amaewhule. Governor Sule rejects allegation of Nasarawa State being a hideout for criminals. 6 killed as IED explosives and explodes in Imo Market. Senate fumes as NNPCL shuts 210 trillion naira audit probe. On the international scene, South Korea arrests Americans trying to send Bibles to North Korea. And in sport, Real Madrid beat Salzburg to reach last 16. And that's the news at 12. Thanks for joining us. I am Solomon Ofem. Do follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. Subscribe to our YouTube channel VOP903FM. Good afternoon and thank you for listening.